You are listening to Season 5 of the Girl Talk podcast, engaging conversations about authentic faith. Brought to you by our friends at Fox Toyota of East Tennessee. Hello there. My name is Carol.
Hey, I'm Trisha.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are so glad you are here for the Girl Talk podcast. Last time, we had a great discussion about your mental health. Now we're going to turn to the mental health of our kids. We have shined such a light on that in the last year of all they've had to adjust with doing school from home, remote school, remote learning. They've had a lot of challenges. And so how do we keep an eye on our kids? Number one, making sure that we're mentally healthy. And then number two, making sure our kids are okay. So we're going to dive right into that topic today. So glad that you've joined us.
I asked my son, in preparation for today, talked to my son about what he sees at his school and his friends around him. I said, hey, do you ever have any friends that struggle with their mental health? First of all, he didn't really know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And for him, the first thing he could think of were, he said, there's some people at school that wear all black and they cut themselves. And I said, well, why do you think they do that? And he said, I think they probably lost something or someone and they don't know how to deal with that. And so that's the only way they do that. They feel sad or depressed. And I said, well, what do you think we could do to help them? And he said, well, I think we could just tell them to be less sad. So it was a good reminder to me that our kids do not have the knowledge of mental health that they need to help their friends. They're not equipped to be able to handle their own mental health.
Right.
Last time we talked about how talking with girlfriends is one of the things we could do that's really helpful for our mental health.
Right.
Well, our kids don't have the words to say. They don't have the resources, the tools to do that, but they're
Coping
still
skills.
having those big people thoughts.
Yeah.
Wow. I had never thought about that. I've never asked my children that question. That is a brilliant question.
It is.
And that's amazing.
Good way to start the conversation with your kids.
Right.
I think kids are more apt to talk about their friends than they are to talk about themselves.
Probably.
Initially in the conversation when you ask your kids that, I think they would probably say, well, I have a friend who, yada, yada, yada. I have a friend who, instead of saying, I feel this way. And I think you're right. They don't always have the language to tell you. And they're still developing. And so some of that comes, I think, from just watching them, their behaviors at home and how they are. I mean, I think screens have been like, if I could go back, I don't think I would give my kid a screen.
Yeah, I agree. I would do the exact same thing.
Hear this, no shame if your kid has a screen, that's fine. You got to make those decisions for you. But for me, I think it's harder for us now to communicate. I can tell a marked difference between my kid when she has a screen and when she doesn't have a screen. The conversation is totally different. Her demeanor is different. The things that we talk about is different. And I think that has changed the parenting game for us all because they have access to things that we would never allow in our homes, but they have access to it through all sorts of, avenues.
Media.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard enough to be a kid. It's hard enough to have your body change, to have all the changes that are happening in your mind as well, the hormonal changes. I mean, when I stop and I think about what my kids are going through, I've got 2 boys, and the changes that they're going through, like I've got one who bounces off the wall and drives me nuts sometimes because I'm wanting to relax, I'm wanting to chill out, and he's literally like jumping on the bed and look at this and they're doing like crazy dances and all this stuff. And for the longest time I was like, what is wrong with him? And sometimes in my worst moments I'm like, stop it, what is wrong with you? That's the wrong thing to do. He's just experiencing all these like probably testosterone pumpage and all this stuff, and it's making him move and it's making him have energy, and he has to get it out somehow, and it just squashes them. One time I said to him, I was like, oh gosh, I'm trying to relax. Just give me a second. And he was like, oh, okay, you don't want me. And walked away. And I was like, oh, wait, stop.
Yeah.
If I could rewind that. Because they are going through all those physical things which make them engage in certain behaviors. But then there's the emotional piece, like looking for cues. Oh, you don't want me. Oh, I'm being too much for you.
Yeah.
Or I'm too sad for you or something. So all of those things are happening without the crazy world we're living in.
Yeah.
Even without the screens, it's just happening in their bodies and their minds. And then you add to it the ability to look at every other child because of their Instagram or whatever, look at all these videos and see the likes and see this. It's just compounding all of the experiences that they're having right now.
Yeah.
But just the physical thing enough is hard enough.
Just that
Well,
singularly. Yeah.
And there's things like that, like Teen Vogue that still exists that make you feel like you are not worthy, you are not
This is
pretty
pretty.
enough. Yes.
You are not.
You are not. You are not worthy. You are not
Yeah.
perfect. You are not airbrushed. And so because of all those things, you are less than.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to deal with those really complex emotions and just can't. They just can't. So we've got to start recognizing the symptoms and the problems in our own children. I have a dear, dear girlfriend whose daughter struggled with some mental health issues a couple of years ago, actually probably 5-10 years ago. And so I asked her, I said, what were the signs that you saw in your daughter when she was spiraling down in depression thoughts? And she said, I saw her start getting very worried about things that were not things she should worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her start having some really negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
She withdrew from friends and the fun things. Somebody would say, hey, let's go do this fun thing. And she'd say, no, I got something else I'd rather do. And it was just a coping mechanism. She started withdrawing.
Yeah.
She barricaded herself in her room and spent a lot of time just by herself, probably watching television, doing screens, those kinds of things. And she just she started saying things about how she didn't feel worthy. And so we got to recognize those things in our kiddos too, and be able to try to find some ways to draw it out of them. So I asked this girlfriend, I said, what did you do? How did you get it out of her? And she said, I just hammered her all the time to talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Okay. And she also said that one of the best things they did was stay active in their church, which was a very Bible preaching church where the youth pastor and the children pastor were very, very active in the kids' lives. So if you don't have a good solid church, find a good solid church that has those kinds of staff that will take a real interest in your kiddos.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that tends to happen as a parent is when your kid struggles, you think you've done something wrong.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like you automatically start the shame and the blame game with yourself. Right. And that's not helpful.
No.
Because then you get depressed and anxious, and then you're, kind of behind a truck waiting for it to back up. I mean, it's just.
And they're reading your signals.
Right.
So,
and I think what we've established here is that conversations with your kids, always a good thing. But to be a good active listener and to ask good questions. I've learned my daughter's now a teenager, and I can't say, how was your day? Because she will say, okay. And that's the end of the conversation. Like I've pretty much, and it drives her crazy because she's like, do we have to hear a story again? Because, I'm a storyteller. But I don't ask, I ask open-ended questions like, what was the best part of your day today?
That's great.
If you could go back and relive 10 minutes of this day today, what 10 minutes would that be? And I change it up every day. I think I've said it before, and I've probably gotten in trouble. But I said, what's your happy today and what's your crappy today? So those two different emotions.
Those are great questions.
But that's, yeah. And she tends to respond really well to that until the other day when she gets in the car. And I could just tell, like who just got in the car with me? Like she was just. And I think it's the stress from end of year, stress and testing and all that stuff, the anxiety that comes along with it. And so I was just trying to be upbeat. And of course, I was embarrassing her before she came out of the womb, right?
It's probably true.
Yeah. So I embarrass her. So I'll turn up this crazy song that she thinks is so funny. And so she starts giggling a little bit. And then I'll poke her, and do stuff like that. But just choosing to engage, because I think the easiest thing for us to do is withdraw and to say, I've done something wrong, I've messed her up, she's going to be on Oprah, those kinds of things. And I tend to go down that slippery slope rather quickly as a parent.
Sure.
Because I try so hard. and I beat myself up for mistakes that I've made, and I try to do that. And so I want you to hear, number one, it doesn't necessarily mean you've done anything wrong or that there's anything wrong with you. This is about your kid and what they're dealing with, the changes that they're going through, and that they really don't have the tools to deal with. I tell you, one of the things that's been really helpful for me as a parent, and I learned this in counseling, so I, feel qualified to tell it. But my counselor sat 4 batteries on the table, and he said, you have 4 batteries: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. If any one of those batteries gets low, it draws from all of the other batteries. So it diminishes those. And that's how you get burned out, And that visual has been, like, how's your physical battery? How you feeling physically? How's your emotional battery? And those words that I sometimes change the way. I don't always say physical or emotional or mental or spiritual, but, I'm like, how's your quiet time going? Tell me what you're learning. What do you think's cool about God? Those kinds of questions. And if you think of it in terms of those batteries, it's a great way to relate to your kids and give them something, a physical representation of those.
Something they get.
Yeah. Even drawing those on a whiteboard, and just saying, where are you at? Tell me, draw for me. And what and really I've challenged her to think about what fills up those batteries. So for my kid, one of the things that fills her spiritual battery is singing. She's a great singer.
Yeah. Oh, she is.
And so she loves to sing. And when she worships, it just,
Yes.
because that's a way God built us, right? That it does something for us. It releases those chemicals that make us happier. And so if I hear her in a room singing, I'm like, I'm gonna take my hands off for just now. I'm not gonna ask her to be quiet or turn it down or any of those things, because I know that's what she's doing. She's filling that battery back up. But I don't necessarily know at that age that I knew what filled up my batteries.
Right.
No,
of course not.
I'm sure. Sometimes I'm still really bad at that, and so sometimes I really have to be challenged to think about what fills my batteries up, so I can ask her what's filling your batteries. Because sometimes she will. She is my kid. She'll go, well, what's filling your batteries up? Your
Good
batteries
for her.
look like they're low. She's good at deflecting too. I think I mentioned that on the last podcast. I was good at deflecting.
Some of those conversations too happen best over an ice cream cone.
Oh yeah,
that's true. I was going to say that. My boys don't talk to me the same way that I think some girls, maybe some different guys, they talk. My guys, I can't get a lot out of them. I've tried a lot of the fun ways of asking questions, and I still don't get a lot. Sometimes I'll be like, you cannot do tech if you do not tell me about your day at school.
Yeah.
But I'm trying I'm seeking ways of opening up the conversation because they just aren't that talkative.
Let me throw this out for you. I don't know if this worked one time, and this was totally God because I'm not this smart. But we were watching one of the Marvel. Am I allowed to say that we watched the Marvel?
Yes, you're allowed.
Yeah,
one of the movies,
superhero movies, the realistic ones today. And she said, "I really like such and so character," and I was like, "What do you like about that character?" So it takes it off of them, and they get a chance to kind of process through that. I don't know if that worked for your boys or not. But.
Well, that might. I mean, but what you're talking about is looking for different moments.
Yeah.
And it may be ice cream. It may be a movie. For me, I have had breakthroughs with my teenager a couple of times this week in 2 weird ways. One, he asked me to make him breakfast before school. I made the point of doing that. And during that time, was when he opened up to me about what was happening in the day, that he was nervous about his test and that just some things about some friends. And it was like just absolute diamonds coming out of his mouth because he was talking to me. And I never would have thought that would have happened over making breakfast, but it did. Also, we both have the same kind of hair. And so sometimes he'll ask me to help him get his hair right, with his gel and stuff like that because the hair's curly. And that's another time where we sort of laugh and talk, and once you have that, once we have had those moments, then he's more likely to tell me what's on his heart, what's on his mind, because I just can't get it out any other way. So being open, and looking for those moments is something I'm learning to be better at, to be able to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've had some good conversations in the car too, when you're not looking at them directly. When you've got something else going on, they'll kind of talk to you when they're not.
Yeah, I found that the first couple of minutes of the day are the best too. When I go in there and I wake him up and he wants to tell me all about his dream, I'll crawl in the bed, lay down next to
Aw.
him, and he'll start talking, and then he'll start talking about his dream, and then we can kind of parlay that into other conversations about other things. I know
Oh,
you
good mamas.
have had great success with evenings, Carol, that, Ella wants to come and talk to you at 11 o'clock at night.
She is such a night owl, and I get up early. So
That makes it tough.
last night we didn't even get in the door till 9:30, and I
Oh.
had to get up at 4:00. So
What?
we didn't even get in the door
That's
until 9:30. So
crazy.
bedtime
Yeah.
was quite a bit later.
Yeah.
But like 10:15, she'll come in and go, "Did I tell you I have a blister on my toe?" And I'm trying so hard to I'm very interested in the blister on
Tell
your
me
toe.
about
Could
your
you tell me before 7 o'clock, please? But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, so I have to find other ways. But
Can't make
it's also-
reservations for those
No,
moments.
no.
It's also those times, though, when they'll tell you some of the sweetest things, some of
Yeah.
the things that are really heavy on their heart, early in the morning and late at night, even if it's when you really want to be sleeping.
So can I just tell you this?
Mm-hmm.
We were having a conversation just a couple of days ago, and I embarrass her to death. I know I do. I'm loud and I'm a lot, and
That's
I
your
embarrass-
job.
I know
You're
it's
supposed
like
to do
my
that.
gift,
Yeah.
right? I don't see where that's in scripture anywhere, but I'm sure it's in there. But so for the last 7 years, I think, maybe 6 or 7 years, I've emceed her dance recital every year.
Oh, fun.
And so we've got a lot going on this year, and my mom's not been doing well, so I've had a lot of different things going on. So I thought they weren't going to ask me to do it, and I was talking to her about it, and we were getting ready for recital time, and she was like, "I really wish you would." And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, I really like it when you do it." And I said, "Really?" Because I don't want to. I would like for one time just be able to sit and enjoy, right, and then not have an expectation or responsibility for that. But I don't mind doing it. But I didn't know that it would absolutely it mattered to her that I was doing it. And so I agreed to do it because I know it matters to her.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be forever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
And-
blink, right?
Oh, let's not.
Mhm.
I could start
Don't blink.
crying.
Yeah. Yeah, let's
It's
not go there.
crazy time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's just paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
not beating yourself up for where you are, starting where you are.
And I will say, it's okay to apologize.
Oh,
It's good to
It's
apologize.
good to
yes.
apologize. I've had some of my better conversations with my kids when I've messed up
Yeah.
and I've acknowledged it and I've apologized. And I think that has grown us closer than just about anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they think we're perfect for some reason, and they think we don't ever make mistakes.
Or they think we
That's
think
not
we're
what my
perfect.
kid thinks about me.
I was going to say, I
my
don't know,
kid
but
does not think I'm perfect.
That's right. That's right. But I think it does. It just mirrors to them that, number one, it's okay. You mess up. We mess up.
Right.
We all mess up. And number two, there's grace for it.
Mhm.
And I've found grace with my kids. Even today, I upset my son by doing something, and I apologized for it. And it was so lovely to see him say, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Mm.
And I was just like, okay, that's good for me, but it's good for him too.
Yeah.
So messing up is okay.
Messing up is okay. Apologies are accepted.
Mhm.
Grace is required
Yes.
for parenting. So get the help that you need. Don't be afraid to reach out either for your kids. I mean, you have a youth pastor or a children's pastor that you can reach out to kind of help you process through some things. I know we've called on both of those in our lifetimes, but even an outside counselor who can help your child learn some coping mechanisms. There's nothing wrong with that. And you will
So good.
find that if they get those when they're young, it'll save them a ton of time when they get older, and they'll have healthier relationships because they have those tools earlier on.
That's right.
So don't be afraid to ask for help. We love you if we can help you in any way. Don't hesitate to reach out. Hey, don't forget, we've got a public Girl Talk podcast page now that is separate from the Girlfriends of the Girl Talk page, and we would love for you to go join both of those and to share that with your friends. On the public page, we put things on there that you can share with all your friends and help get the word out about the Girl Talk podcast, and we would so appreciate it if you would do that. And so go subscribe to the public Girl Talk podcast page and the Girlfriends of the Girl Talk page as well. We would love to have you on both of those. And you're always welcome to email us at girltalk@thelightfm.org. And we want to say a very special thank you to our friends at Fox Toyota of East Tennessee for sponsoring Season 5 of the Girl Talk podcast. We could not do what we do every day without the help of sponsors like Fox Toyota. So everybody at Fox Toyota, we love you. Thank you so much for believing in the Girl Talk podcast. And we will see you next time we gather around these microphones. Hope you'll be with us then.